So I have a unique perspective on it because I have been both a kinship and a regular foster parent.
Okay.
So I kind of just wanted to ask, when I was kinship, it's hard to set the boundaries when when it's your sister or it's a family member. So can you explain how we would set the boundaries? Because with the general care, it was fine. I knew I wasn't going to let them come to my house or a birthday party or whatnot, but when it was kinship, when they were used to coming to my house, and now they couldn't because it had to be supervised visits and not by me, and they couldn't come to our house anymore. So how do you set the boundaries of the difference of what do I say to them now? Because now, see, that I realize that that's the hard conversation you have to have.
Yeah. See, you almost answered the question.
I did.
That's great. You know, it was, you should see your face. She said, oh, I did. And you did it instinctively. That's what's so good about it. But the first thing that you did was you recognized the fact that the needs of the children have to take precedent to those of the birth parent.
Right.
That's the first thing. You see, because I think the challenge for a lot of kinship caregivers is to believe that they should have the same loyalties, the same responsibilities, the same commitments that you had with that birth parent before the children came.
Right.
And you still tend to think that way. And the work is going to be realizing that, hey, those priorities have changed because the children's needs come first. So that's the first thing that you have to do, okay? Is to recognize that the needs have to change. The second thing that you have to do, which is what you already said you had to do, which was the hard part, is to have that conversation.
Right.
First with yourself, and then now have it with guess who? The birth parents.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
you know.
Now, I did have a very good worker at the time
Okay.
who kept telling me, and remember, at the time, I actually worked for the agency as well, but she kept saying, just blame it on me.
Ooh.
She was like, when you say you
Wow.
can't come over, she said, say, oh, did you ask the worker? Because
Yeah.
you have to ask her. Can
I'd let you
come
stay all
over?
night if it was up to me.
If it was up to
But
you,
it's
that's
that
what she
worker.
said. She was like,
That worker
she
said you got
"Don't."
to go.
She said, take it off
That's
of you
beautiful.
and put it on me. And she was like,
Oh.
let me be the bad guy.
Okay, all right. Well, you see, that's great there too. Okay, but in order to have that conversation, you may need to have agencies and support systems help you have that conversation.
Right.
And you may need to have an agency who is willing to take that responsibility on.
Yeah.
To save you face, you know, and an agency who kind of supports you with that. But it does start with you recognizing it, you having that conversation. And if you can't have that conversation alone, you know, I keep using Chartan's name, but that's where somebody like Chartan, Carrie, her staff, that can support you and say, hey, we're here. We have to help you with that. That's our responsibility. But here's what a caregiver may also have to say. Yeah, I'd like you to stay. I want to believe you. I want to do those things. But we don't need to do anything that's going to be used against us in order to keep the children safe, in order to keep the children in the family.
Exactly.
Okay?
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you for your work.
Dr. Crumbley, I would like to ask you a question.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm obligated now to continue taking care of my grandchildren. They don't want to go stay with their mother. And I want to know, how do you deal with those feelings?
Okay.
They've gotten so used to being with me, and I gave them things thinking that I was going to make them happy. When I couldn't give them their parents, so I probably gave them things to make them happy and feel good. Doesn't make me feel good because they expect those things now that they're older. And I can say one of my family members says, you ruined them, but I didn't.
Okay.
I made them happy. I thought I was. But now that it's time for them to go and be with their mom, they don't want to go.
How old are they now?
15 and 14.
15 and 14. Does their mother want them back?
She wants them back, and I promised her I would give them back to her.
Okay.
I'm only keeping them
You
so
what?
that when she get her life together,
Okay.
you can have your kids.
And she's
I
ready?
want my life back,
Right.
you know?
Okay, all right. See, because I'm being selfish for you now. You know, I hear you worrying about the children, and I'm hearing you talk about your daughter, giving them the chances. You've been there for her to get herself together. You've been there for the children. You sacrifice. But yeah, I'm really kind of concerned about you now. All right. So I guess my question is, how much longer do you feel as though you can do this? Back to that question, can I and should I?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I would start with. How much longer can you? How much longer do you feel you can do this? Because once you can answer those questions, then you're going to have to put everybody, this sounds terrible, but you have to put everybody on notice and sit down about what's the plan going to be in terms of when I'm going to start living my life.
And I understand that, and that's the hard part.
That's the hard part. That's the hard part, being able to, but it starts with you knowing first. Should I, could I, how much longer, when? All right, and then once you've kind of come up with that discussion, you use your group, Chartan, you use your support to figure that out, okay? And then once you figure that out, then you can start talking to the kids about, you know, getting ready to go back to mom and talking to mom about what do we have to do to get you ready to go back to mom. And we're going to start some visitations now. We're going to start some overnights. Mom, you're going to have to earn that trust back. You're going to have to make that connections.
And learn how to be a parent.
And learn how to be a parent, you see, but it all starts with you kind of like knowing when enough.
It's enough.
There you go. Oh, you're so ready.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dr. Crumbley, and
Good
thank you for all the information. As I was sitting here listening to the other caregivers, I understand that there's different types of guilt. And some of the guilt that I have been feeling since my son passed away in 1999 is that it's really not guilt. It's like all the changes that I've been going through with his children. I'm looking at it as the blame. How should I put it? I have a tendency of keeping in my mind that if he was here, I wouldn't be going through this.
Okay.
I have another great-grandchild. She's not even a month old yet.
She's with you?
My granddaughter left while she was pregnant, and she had the baby. I have yet to see the baby.
Okay.
Understanding that she's grown, but what I didn't hear today was about mental health issues. When you have a child that you done took care of for almost 15 years, and they just jump up and leave, in the back of my mind is, now she's homeless, because where I live at, there's limitations. And you have to follow by them guidelines. And on top of that, I can lose my house because she left. But that's not even the issue. The issue is that I was so forced to make them homeless. So am I wrong to feel that I blame my child that's not here? Or is it wrong for me to feel that I didn't do enough? Or her allowing her to make me feel that it's my fault that she left?
Okay.
So there's a hole there that is not understandable. And by the grace of God, I ask God to take a lot of anger from me. And I ask God to help me to be humble.
Okay.
I don't want to be that angry person no more.
Okay.
So at this point, I'm 66, and soon be 67, and in my heart, I feel as though I should be able to let go. But it's not easy to let go of something that you just basically, like, you nurtured a child all over again who was not a baby,
Well,
but
there's two
now it's
things-
a baby
yeah,
involved.
Yeah, well, two things happen. You're still feeling the grief and the loss and the hurt with your son. And now you're also feeling it with your granddaughter, who's just like another child to you because you raised him. So it's been a double loss. You're also going through stages of loss and grief. And the word isn't wrong. The word that you might want to replace is it's normal. You should feel angry. You should feel sad. Those are normal stages. You should feel regret. Those are normal stages. You do need to put that anger where it belongs and acknowledge it, okay? And say, yeah, I'm angry at my son. You let it out, you verbalize it, and you put it where it belongs so that you can move on. But you have to say, it's normal, I can't help this feeling, it's right to feel this way, so that you can move on. Because you're stuck with, I shouldn't feel this way, and the answer is, yes, you should. And if you acknowledge and accept the fact that there is anger, then you can move on from being an angry person with your son, because you're feeling guilty about being angry with him. No, it's normal to feel that way, because you're right. 20 years went by, there's some feelings if he hadn't been there, so let yourself feel it. It's okay, normalize it so that you can move on. Put the anger where it is, and even if you feel guilty about it, know that it's normal. That's part of how you heal. Being angry, the regrets, the remorse, woulda, coulda, shoulda, bargaining with God and yourself. If only I had. You go through those stages so that you can move on with your son. So first, that's with him, okay? The second thing is doing this with your granddaughter. You notice a parallel? Thank you, you got it, yeah.
How can you communicate with somebody that does not or refuse to communicate with you?
Guess what? You can't. It takes two. All you can do is say, I'm here. I'm here. And that's all you can do. I'm here, and you're going to have to wait for her to come to you. But that may never, ever happen. So if that doesn't happen, you've got to go on with, if not, then what? I wish I could. If not, then what? And then you start making some plans. How long you going to wait? How many chances you're going to give her? How many times you're going to be waiting for that call? And if not, then what am I going to do after that? You've got to start moving on. You've got to start planning for her not coming back. And the same way you're going to have to deal with losing him, you're going to have to grieve losing her too. Your great-grandchild, yeah, see, it's happening on a couple of levels. You just have to wait for that grandchild to come back to you. You just have to wait for that to happen. You just have to kind of hope. Send that birthday card if you can. You know, send that doll if you can.
Well, that would be possible, but at the moment, I don't even know where she is. She's not communicating with me, and it's not so much, because she's 25 now.
Yeah, okay.
And so it's not so much of that, but my heart goes out to this infant
The
baby.
great-grand, right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but I'm also a member of Grand Central, and the Grand Central family has been a great support to me during this process. But Dr. Crumbley, thank you so much.
Hi, Dr. Jill. My name is Celeste. My question is, my grandbaby at this point is 14 years old. I had her from 3 months old. I was not educated in any of this we learned today. But my question is, going forward, I don't have problems with the parents. It's just raising her and getting her through to that next phase in her life. My question is, what kind of things you can teach me that'll help me with her next phases? You know, teenager to young adult.
Okay. Before you back away, how is she feeling about living with you? How is she feeling about being with her parents? Not being with her parents?
I think she feels that she's not loved enough. Mom don't come to see her at all. and me and father, I have full custody, father has share. He helps a lot. But it's, you know, when that parent ain't around, you feel like something is missing. I think she's going through that.
Okay, all right. See, now I feel like I'm getting ready to turn you into a therapist and a healer all at the same time, okay? Because one of the things that she's certainly feeling is the grief and the loss that relates to her birth parents. And see, one of the things that caregivers have to realize is when the children are feeling their grief and their loss, a lot of times they bring it to guess who?
Me.
And a lot of times they take it out on guess who?
Me.
Yeah, okay. So that's the first thing you have to realize, because you want it feels so personal. But when she's taking things out on you, and when you're feeling that grief, and when you're feeling that loss, just cut right through it.
And Pop-Pop.
And Pop-Pop, okay, taking it out on Pop-Pop too.
Yes.
So when you feel it, just cut right through it, you know, and say, babe, who are you angry with? Who are you really angry with? What do you need to tell your mom? What do you need to tell your dad about how you're feeling? Write it down, text them. Let's put that piece together. And then let's talk about how we're going to handle those feelings at home without you hurting yourself, me, or the people that you love. So that work is how you're feeling about your mom, what are you doing with that anger, and where you're taking it, and how we're going to handle it here in our house. But bring up mom and get her to talk about those feelings. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you feel ready to do that, or do you?
Yes, I do.
Oh, yes, you sounded so strong. Yes, I do. Okay.
Thank
Oh,
you.
excellent.
My name is Sandra Atwell.
Yes, Sandra.
And I'm here with the Supportive Older Women's Network. I now have one grandchild that I'm raising. My daughter passed away suddenly in 2006. And I did not find out what she passed away from until 2011.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, 2017. It took 11 years, and in those 11 years, my guilt was it my fault? Was it something I didn't see? And all those questions that you asked. But I accepted the responsibility and made the commitment to raise her two granddaughters, her two daughters, who are my granddaughters, who at the time she passed were 9 and 3. The 9-year-old reacted in a very different way. She became very rebellious, and I lost her to the DHS system when she was 15. Now that my granddaughter's 15, I see where there are so many spaces in her life that I wasn't able to fill in.
Okay.
Now I'm back to the guilt. What do I do? Now I'm doing the best I can. She's a good student, she's in school, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
But I want to know, what can I do better? And how can I learn to do it better? I know I'm not the only one in this position. I'm just representative of thousands of women who are doing the exact same thing I'm doing.
Okay.
But whereas if you're connected with the foster care program or DHS, you're paid to do what it is you do. Anything this child needs, this doesn't come under her survivor benefits, comes out of grandmom's pocket. How can we be compensated?
Well, you
What
see,
do we have to do?
I think that first part about the guilt, see, because again, I'm starting with you. For her to be okay, you've got to be okay, all right? So when we look at the guilt, it's important that you've resolved it, that you're not blaming yourself, that you're forgiving yourself,
Right. Yes.
that you're not doubting yourself, and we know what those scripts need to be. Okay? All right. You found out recently what she passed from.
Yes.
Your bond with your 15-year-old right now
Yes.
that's a shared pain that y'all both need to talk about.
We
And
do.
I don't know if y'all have already. Okay, you know. So it's almost like what's important right now is to kind of look at how you can use these next 2 years with her
Right.
to plan for her to leave and to be on her own and to do well.
Yes.
That's what the next 2 years. That's the next. That's the plan. That's the conversation with her.
Okay.
You know, how are we going to use these next 3 or 4 years? Because, like you said, you saw what happened to her sister.
Right. Yes.
You see, you saw what happened to the sister. You saw what the past did there. Your conversation with her now is, what are we going to do differently? What have we learned from your sister?
Yes.
How are we going to go on with your life?
Yes.
And how you can be a part of that process to help her get ready.
Okay.
So that kind of gets you focused on now, but it does start with you being okay with that guilt, which it sounds like you're starting to deal with.
Yes.
Okay, sounds like you're doing well with the 15-year-older. So where do we go from here? How are we going to use these next 2 to 3 years to kind of get ready for you? And how we're going to use what we've learned from your sister, excuse me, to do things differently now. And also, how are we going to remember Mom? What are we going to do to remember her?
Okay.
How are we going to memorialize her?
Okay.
You know, what are we going to do and that's something that bonds you together.
Okay. We're going to go now.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
What happens when you have these children? Like, I have my grandchildren who are now 17 and 19, since they were 1 and 3. What happens when they become adults and there's special needs? There's no DHS involvement. You have to, like, figure it out as you go along. I want to know when somebody's going to pick that component part up.
Okay. All right. Now, I appreciate what you're saying, because now we're talking about, you know there needs to be a plan.
Yeah.
You're accepting the reality of the situation.
Yeah,
But now the question is, what is the plan going to be?
Well, I accepted the reality of this situation about a year after I got them.
Okay. All right.
Okay, because the fact that I had to go through, I didn't get my grandkids from DHS. I'm from New Jersey. So in New Jersey, we call it DYFS, or the Division of
DYFS.
Youth and Family Services.
Right.
And it took me 6 months, but I did everything that had to be done. But after I had them, after a year, that first year was the hardest year, because that's when I realized when certain special needs had to be taken care of.
Okay.
And I just knew if my daughter hadn't done what she did when she had them, she wasn't going to do it now.
Okay.
So the year after I got them, I was already, like, she's not coming back, and I'm not doing this. It's all about the kids.
Well, you know, I'm so glad you brought that up, because if you remember yesterday, I talked a little bit about once you get the children, being able to give yourself time to ask the question, should I and can I continue caring for these children, and being able to look at those resources? I think that's where, like you said, the planning needs to start. For those who are considering coming in, you have to start asking those questions, because you saw special needs when they first got there.
When they first got
When they
there.
first got there. So those planning starts then. What do I need to have in place for me to even consider trying to be a kinship caregiver? And then over time, you start asking the question, what resources do I need to have in place in order for me to continue being a caregiver? And you're taking it to another level. What's going to happen after I'm no longer
here that's where
to
I
be
am.
the kinship caregiver? So my suggestion is that you use people like Shartan.
Oh, yeah. Speed dial.
She said speed dial, right. People like Shartan, your support group, people like Carrie, okay? You know, that can kind of help you sit down. Carrie's the director with Delta, where you get the professional help to sit down with you to look at what services are in place. Because, yeah, I'd like to say DHS is going to be there, but but I'm not being realistic. I'm going into my fantasy now, aren't I?
Some of us,
okay? But being realistic, yeah, you have to get in touch with the agencies, the organizations. You can't do it by yourself. Get those advocates to be there for you.
I have a grandson that's, you know, struggling, trying to get him to go to school. And the motivation, you know, fighting with the motivation, and then kind of thinking, okay, he'll get up tomorrow, And here, you know, 3 weeks have gone by, and it's, so, but now it's starting to become hurtful and painful, because I don't want him to go through what I went through. I dropped out of high school, but I mean, eventually I went back. And so I don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to, like, at the end of the school year, it's like June
Okay.
12th, are they going to drop him from
Okay.
school, you know, the rolls? Then he's going to be, you know, a high school dropout. And it's like, you know, I'm talking to Shartane, but, you know, I got to find other ways,
Right.
options for him to get
Right.
his diploma.
I guess the first thing here, again, is recognizing that there's a problem.
Yes.
And that's what I think is so important about what you're doing. You're recognizing that it's a problem. He's not getting up in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm doing everything I can to get him motivated, and it's not working. All right, so you're recognizing the problem, and you've gone weeks, and you're starting to realize that it's not happening. At least you're not going the rest of the semester and into the summer and into the next year. So you're recognizing, you're dealing with the reality. And the thing about it, it's also important, especially with special needs children, is getting the help.
Yes.
You know, you're recognizing the fact that there's a problem, and you're recognizing that you can't do it alone. You've also recognized the fact that you're going to have to get some help.
Yeah, I got him in therapy.
You got him in therapy.
Yeah, he missed last week. But
Right, this is the last week of therapy.
Yeah.
All right, now if we're looking at the last week of therapy, you're now going to have to start thinking about now, if not, then what?
yeah.
That's your next conversation. If the
See,
therapy,
he's 18 years
yeah,
old.
you see that's what I'm doing. I hope he gets it together, but if not, then what? He's now 18.
Yeah.
So what's the next alternative? What else do I need to do? You know, and can I do it alone? That's going to be the hard question, to looking at what you can and can't do. Okay, and helping other people to help you make that decision. Remember we talked about yesterday, should I, can I? For you, the question is, can I continue?
Yeah, because that's
All right.
that. I'm like, you
Yeah.
know, I sacrificed 18 years.
And
I
it's
had
already
two
been
of them.
18 years
Yes.
for two. Can I continue? What resources do I need to have in place for me to continue? That becomes your question. All right, and then you can figure out, with the help of, like I said, Shartane and folks who have been through this, what else do I need to do in order for them to do it? When is enough enough? What are those benchmarks that are going to let me know if I can continue? And if the plan is that you can't continue, then that next question is, how am I going to still be involved? How am I going to still work with him? Can he return? What does he need to be able to do if I consider taking him back? All right, see, I'm involved now, aren't I? Okay, but that's the work. That's the
'cause
work.
I've been thinking about that. You know,
Yeah.
if he's on his own, how does he, like Connie brought it up, independent living.
There you go. Independent living, what's happening,
Just,
how's
you
that
know,
going to
he
work?
can sit up there in that room with the game. Like, I'm like, yo.
Yeah, he can sit in
take a
that,
break.
exactly. You can't let him just sit there and play that game all
Yeah,
day, right?
you know,
Okay, all right. So what do I need to do next? Can I continue? Getting some help with that by yourself, making those plans? Okay, all right. Thank you so much.